This video recording is one in a series commemorating the anniversary of an elementary particle called the Higgs boson. This particle also has a nickname, and that is the God particle. Now, it's fascinating how the particle got this nickname. The obvious answer is that the name came from a Nobel Prize-winning physicist named Leon Lederman. Leon Lederman he's famous. He was the director of the Fermi Lab from 1979 through 1989. And he's often credited with being the prime mover and the person who proposed the superconducting super collider. That was a United States project that was supposed to be built. In fact, they started it, and that was going to look for the Higgs boson. But the project got canceled by Congress because they were concerned about our budget and the amount of money we were spending on the war in Iraq. So the project ended up being built in Europe. That became the Large Hadron Collider, which was successful in detecting the Higgs boson. I wish the project had been done in the United States. But anyway, Leon Lederman wrote a book, and it was published in 1993. And the book was called The God Particle. If the universe is the answer, what is the question? Now, in Lederman's book, he comes right out and gives us an answer. Let me read for you the section where he explains why he called this the God particle. This boson is so crucial to the state of physics today, so crucial to our final understanding of the structure of matter, yet so elusive that I have given it a nickname, the God particle. Why the God particle? Well, two reasons. One, the publisher wouldn't let us call it the goddamn particle, though that might be a more appropriate title given its villainous nature and the expense it is causing. And two, there is a connection of sorts to another book, a much older book. Well, the reference to the older book here is a reference to the Bible, the Christian Bible, or since it's the Old Testament, it could be a reference to the Jewish Pentateuch. Now, that was an explanation, but it was a little bit cagey, and I found it fascinating to dig a little deeper. What I found was an interview where Lederman was explaining a little bit more about what he meant. In particular, this reference to the Bible was a reference to Genesis chapter 11. This is what he says, Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. Now, if you look at Genesis chapter 11, 1 through 9, you'll see it's the famous story of the Tower of Babel. This is where the descendants of Noah decide that they're going to build a city with a huge tower. And Yahweh, the God of Abraham, decides that if they were able to do this, they could do anything. So he becomes concerned. And what he does is he confuses their language, according to Genesis, and he scatters the inhabitants. Now, this story was probably supposed to serve as an explanation as to why there's multiple languages on the face of the earth. But it's interesting, when you think about what Lederman meant here, it makes perfect sense. There's an analogy here. It's analogous. The way Yahweh is affecting the inhabitants of Earth is analogous to how the Higgs field affects the other particles. You see, the other particles are part of, up until that time, the standard model of particle physics. And there's a symmetry, a mathematical symmetry between these particles. And without something that would explain the breaking of that symmetry, you're at a loss to explain why there's a difference in mass in these particles. The heaviest particle, the top quark, is hundreds of thousands of times heavier than the electron, which is one of the lightest particles. Without an explanation, you don't really understand this picture, but the Higgs field explains this, and it might be the simplest explanation. Now, I keep talking about this Higgs field, and I keep talking about particles. The the Higgs field would permeate all of space and it would create the mass of the other particles. But now the Higgs boson, the particle, is the smallest quantum that you can have of this field. And it happens to be something that we can generate with the energies that we are able to generate in the Large Hadron Collider. So that's why we're looking for the Higgs boson, or that we're looking for it and believe we've found the Higgs boson. Well, this is a wonderful thing. And I think the term God particle fits once you understand what Lederman meant by this. Now, I hear a lot of physicists protesting this whole thing. And to me, I don't know, maybe it's a little too much protesting. It sounds a little like a movie star complaining about how rough it is to be a star and how you don't get any privacy. I mean, when you think about it, without this term, the God particle, there probably wouldn't have been as much interest in the media and as much interest among the lay public, which is really what generated the interest and the money that we needed to build the Large Hadron Collider and take the project so far. So it was probably a blessing in disguise. And when you really stop to think about it, for some people, the quest to get to the some of the answers that we want in physics is a religious quest. Some people, just look at it instrumentally, like you're coming up with better and better theories. But for some people, the thing that's driving it is these deep questions that we have about the universe. These questions that I keep bringing up, like why is there a universe? And why is there stuff in the universe? And what's our relationship to this universe? Why are we having this conscious experience traveling through the universe? Why are we able to transform our world and our universe in such a powerful way? We have this ability. And where's this all going? What does the future hold for us? Now, these are the deep questions that haunt the minds of a lot of thinkers and a lot of people who have a religious quest. Now, I'm not talking about the religious quest. Sometimes it can be a negative thing, especially if whatever your religion is tells you that here's an answer and you can stop thinking about it. Or it's sacrilegious to give too much thought to these sacred questions and you can't think about them. That's not a good usage of religion. But for some people, the religion is these questions. And I think that's why the term the God particle is just fine with me. So I'm going to go into some of these deep questions a little bit later and how this Higgs boson is helping us make our way back towards the beginning of the universe and helping us answer some of these. And when I say answer, science very often just transforms these questions. A question that starts out one way may get turned into a different question or a different kind of question. And that's okay. That's because we're learning and we're gaining knowledge. So please check out some of the more other videos that are in this series. I think you'll find this fascinating. Thanks for listening.